Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Subcommittee for the Legal Affairs. In attendance is Councilor Daigle, Councilor Hockman. Sitting in for Councilor Peach will be Councilor Gamache, Councilor Turco, and myself as chair. All other councilors except for Councilor Peach are present. We have one item on the agenda, and that is a communication from the Licensing Board regarding Alcohol Beverage Commission changing the ability to allow on-premise wine and malts from wine and malt to entire liquor license. Before us, we have Attorney Lashway as well as representative from the ABC, Ryan Melville. I was about to call him Councilor Melville. Ms. Lashway, if you'd like to come before us and explain what this is. Before I go to you, I would like to receive item 8F.
Move to receive under suspension of the rules, item 8F.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Lashway.
Good evening. The City Council has the opportunity to vote and adopt a new statute, Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 12D. Section 12D was established last summer through the fiscal year 2026 state budget bill signed by Governor Healy. Section 12D, if adopted by the City Council, would allow on-premise wine and malt beverage licensees under Section 12 to convert their licenses to all alcohol licenses. In order to upgrade to an all-alcohol license, the wine and malt licensee would need to complete a change of category application and file it with the licensing board. The application would also need to be approved by the ABCC, and the application would require advertisement, a butters notification, and a hearing before the licensing board. The city would be able to charge a reasonable fee, and the licensing board may establish additional requirements. Some notes on the city's quota as of the end of January is that there are 3 on-premise wine and malt beverage licenses issued currently, and there are 8 available. There are 2 available on-premise all-alcohol licensees. That number is constantly changing, so there soon could be no all-alcohol licenses available, which would make the ability to convert a wine and malt license to an all-alcohol license very appealing. It's important to note a few things. This change would only apply to on-premise licensees, such as restaurants and bars, where patrons will consume alcoholic beverages on the premise. It does not affect off-premise licenses, such as liquor stores and convenience stores. Approval by the licensing board of the conversion to all alcohol would not change the city's quota. Therefore, there would be no problem quota-wise for a licensee to revert back to a beer and wine license at a later date. The converted all-alcohol license cannot be transferred. However, a wine and malt licensee, if a wine and malt licensee converts to an all-alcohol license and then later wants to transfer the license, it would first have to reconvert to a beer and wine license. The licensee could then sell the beer and wine license. In order to convert from a beer and wine license to an all-alcohol license under Section 12D, the licensee should still show a public need to the licensing board. And the converted all-alcohol license cannot be pledged or held for collateral as a loan. The converted all-alcohol license would have an annual renewal fee like other all-alcohol licenses. So some potential benefits to the city are there might be more of a demand for wine and malt licenses. The city would be able to charge all alcohol fees for those converted licenses, so there's potential for additional revenue to the city. For instance, a renewal fee for on-premise wine and malt is $1,650, and an on-premise all-alcohol fee is $2,250. So this could bring in an additional revenue of about $600 per license. And I also believe it would be good for the local economy because those on-premise licensee businesses will have increased revenue and business stability. So my recommendation would be for the city council to adopt this, and I know we're in front of the committee right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know Ryan is here from the ABCC and would be happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Attorney Lashway. Are there any questions from the council? Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so many questions as to thank yous. Thank you, Attorney Lashway or Solicitor Lashway. That was very thorough. I just checked off most of my questions. Thank you for putting this before us. I'm fully supportive. I have a long history with working for the licensing board, and at this day and age, the industry is kind of interesting. Bars aren't staying open as late. They're not selling as many drinks. I think anything we can do to help, especially the local mom and pops, is important. And I hope the quota system has been interesting, and I was never a big fan of that. But again, thank you to the licensing board for including us and our opinion on this. And I support it. Back in the day, the case for our special legislation licenses was, what about the people that paid $200,000 for a license, and now we have these free or $5,000 special legislation licenses? But that, honestly, I've never heard feedback from anyone that they felt like they were gypped on that system. So I haven't heard any business reach out in objection, so I am fully supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Daigle. Any further questions from the council? Councilor Hockman.
Thank you, Chairman Rosenthal. My understanding is that the standard for the issuance of a beer and malt license is the same standard that an applicant would need to satisfy for an all-alcohol license. Is that right?
Correct.
So there's no harm in terms of dealing with a lesser entity or a lesser applicant when it comes to the issuance of a beer and malt license, malt and wine license, than there would an all-alcohol license.
That's correct. The standard is the same. You have to show public need. I think that, so if the city council decides to adopt Section 12D, the licensing board would then adopt some regulations to correspond with the statute to make it a little bit clearer for those licensees who are interested in pursuing this. And I do believe that public need would be addressed. I think the process would be very straightforward, just filling out this ABCC application, checking a change of category, and the other municipalities that have adopted this have required that the licensee show public need. Again, I think the licensing board would address that further in its rules.
And just lastly to you, my understanding, and you brought this up, is that this license, if it's converted, is not transferable. It would need to be converted back to a wine and malt license for the new, if it then transferred to a new owner, who then could apply to alter the license to a. So do you have any, and I know you're not a legislator, but any thought on the rationale behind that?
Well, the rationale is that the crux of this is that the quota is not changing. So if you can kind of picture, your wine and malt license kind of isn't going away on the books if you transfer to an all-alcohol license. So you have to turn it back to a wine malt license to transfer it. So the quota is not affected. So that's the reasoning behind it.
Thank you. And just lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. Melville, who's here from the ABCC, for taking the time to talk to me about this legislation and about the proposal that's before the council now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Hockman. Any further questions or comments from the council? What is the will of the subcommittee?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the recommendation of the Assistant City Solicitor.
You heard the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilors Daigle,
Yes.
Gamache.
Yes.
Hockman.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Being the only item on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.